Hi, I'm Tatenda, and welcome to the Lesson in 5, a program where we try to summarize the weekly lesson study into 5 main points, and we do that in 5 minutes or less. This week's lesson is from reading to understanding. The Seventh-day Adventist Church is born from within the pages of the book of Daniel. This quarter, we are going to be studying the book of Daniel, and this week, we want to lay the foundation of our study and look at the structure of the book of Daniel. So we want to be able to understand how the book of Daniel was written and why it's important for you and me to study this book. Christ, the center of the book of Daniel. When we read through the pages of the book of Daniel, we may tend to think that the heroes or the protagonists of the story are Daniel or Daniel's friends, King Nebuchadnezzar, but really at the heart of the book of Daniel is Jesus Christ. In every page, it seeks to exalt Jesus. Read in Daniel 2, he's the rock that becomes a mountain that takes over all the kingdoms of this world. When you read the story of Daniel in the fiery furnace, of Daniel's friends in the fiery furnace, it's not so much about them and their heroic activity, but rather about how Christ shows up in the fire. Book of Daniel has Christ as its thematic center. The book of Daniel has an interesting structure. It's written in 2 languages. Part is written in Hebrew, the other part is written in Aramaic. The Aramaic section, starting from Daniel 2, has an interesting structure, a chiastic structure, where at the center is the main point of emphasis. The beginning mirrors the end. And right at the center of the book of Daniel, it speaks about judgment. The other important structural element of the book of Daniel is repetition. The main prophetic sections of the book have repetition and progression. In other words, you often have the same prophetic timeline repeated, but with more emphasis and greater detail being given in each subsequent point. Apocalyptic prophecies in Daniel. When we read the book of Daniel, we need to understand the difference between classical prophecy and apocalyptic prophecy. The book of Daniel contains apocalyptic prophecy, and there are 3 main things that are listed in the lesson that help us to identify apocalyptic prophecy. The first one is visions and dreams. Number 2 is composite symbolism. And the third and final point is divine sovereignty and unconditionality. God's timetable. When we read the book of Daniel, we ought to understand that we should look at it from the perspective of God's timetable. It starts right from the time of the prophet and stretches through to the end of history. Just like Daniel begins in Daniel 2, as we'll study later, he begins at the time of King Nebuchadnezzar, and he stretches through to the day that Jesus will come again. And this is a pattern that is there in much of the book of Daniel. As we understand and read the book of Daniel, another important thing that we ought to understand in the prophetic sections is that one day represents 1 year. We'll look at that in more detail as we study through the lesson, but this helps to form the foundation of our understanding of the book of Daniel. Contemporary relevance of the book of Daniel. The book of Daniel has a lot of meaning for us today. One thing that we get to understand as we read the book of Daniel is God stands sovereign over our lives. God is in control of human events. He has the world's history and future in his hands. We can take courage knowing that God is in charge and in control. Hi everybody, I'm Tatenda. If you've enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button. Also give the video a thumbs up. Share the video as well with your friends, with your family and everybody else. Thank you so much. God bless you all.